Good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of Introduction to Data Structures and Algorithms. So, in the previous session, we started off our discussion with respect to algorithms, and in previous session, we looked into asymptotic notations of algorithms, in which we discussed regarding what is meant by big O notation, omega notation, and theta notation. So, these are the discussions what we had in the previous session, and we saw how we can go ahead with the identification of those notations for some of the problems. So moving ahead, let us discuss the next things. So here, next topic which comes is the data structures. So as mentioned previously, data structure is nothing but a combination of different data types. So it is basically a user-defined data types. So which will be having, which can have the option of, say, collecting different data types together. For example, if I write int and I write a. So a will be holding a variable which is of the type int. Now suppose if I want to store some information. So if I declare a character, say only single character. So this can store only a single character which is of the type char. Now if I want some information in which a variable stores say a integer and a character. So in that case, what we do is we go ahead with what is called as data structures. So along with that, we can go ahead even for the unions, but at present we'll be concentrating on what is meant by the data structure. So this is the representation of data along with its associated operations. Now, what does this indicate is in some of the cases, you can define some of the functions along with the data structures and what that function does. So at present, we'll not be going in depth of those. So in the previous this thing, we had seen that how we declare a data structure using the struct keyword, and in that different say integer elements and character elements or string elements, all those things were declared. So in that, using those, how I can say go ahead with the information which I am having. Suppose I want to collect the student information. So in that I require, say for one student, I require the name of the student, which is of the string type, roll number, which is of the integer type. Say I want to identify what is the average score of their all the semesters. So which will be of float type. So all these three types are identifying only one student details. So in that cases, those information, what we term it as the data elements or the members. So here in data structure, we can have the combination of different data types together, and because of which we can specify it as a user defined data type. So here, for what all purpose, you can just look out, you can have the representation of the data along with its operations. Using these data structures, we can organize the data and store the data. So student information I want to analyze, so I can store all the information pertaining to the student, and if I declare one structure, the members which are present in that structure will help me to identify what all parameters are used for identifying the student details. So you will be able to organize them, you will be able to store that information. So here, what you're doing is, if you say, for example, if you're considering the student details, you can provide a single name to that data type. So using which you will be able to identify the different, say, representations of that data type. Suppose I declare int, so and a. So a is a name identifier which I'm using to tell that it can store a value of integer type. Similarly, in structure, what happens is you define the structure and you can use that struct keyword and the structure name and the variable. So which will tell me that this information st which is there, it is of the type structure, which is having the name which is given for that structure. So in this one, what happens is it will be having the group of data elements which are stored under a single name. We'll be having a group of data elements which are stored under the single name. So previously, if you remember, we had something written in this form: struct, say student, and then in the braces, you had written all the things. Say you had roll number, then you had name, you had name. So these are the elements which are present. Now this is a user defined data type which is storing integer and character, that is a string elements together. Now here how we have declared a variable of type integer, right? We can declare a variable of type struct student. So that whatever you are declaring, so we'll be having like struct student. See, I'll write it as st. So this st is a variable which can hold information which is of the type struct student. So this name which is there, I can use in common to identify different student details. So I can write st1, I can have st2, so on, I can continue. So student one's information will be in this part, student two's information will be in this part. So student one will be having his roll number and name entered, student two will be having his roll number and name entered. So you are grouping those elements. So that is what this specifies. Using single name, you are grouping those elements. Now, what is basically data structure useful in? You'll be able to store the information, say student information, what I specified, you'll be able to store that information. And if you want, you can organize that in a proper way. Suppose I want all the students, say a name in one list. So what I can do is I can access the member student one dot name. Then if I want second student two dot name, I can store this in some different this thing and I can organize that information. Say I want to organize it in some alphabetical order. So I can do that. Then you can analyze the data. Say if I take the total marks and in which semester you are. So if I take that information and I want to analyze what is the average, so I can take that total marks and divide it by the number of semesters in order to identify what is the average of the overall semesters. So these are few things what you can perform in data structures. Now, next, what are the data elements called which are present in the data structure? So as I wrote, say I'll write struct student, and I wrote it as I'll write it in simple form int a and say float b. So here what we have is we have the keyword struct, we have the name of the structure which is student, and within the braces what we have one integer data type and one float data type. Now in this case, these a and b which are there, they are called as the members of the data structure. They are called as members of the data structures. And these members, it is not that they have to be same, they have to be different. You can have the same structure as having only one member. I can have only one member. So I have all the details given over here. Struct some info. So even this is a data structure in which only one member is present, which is of the type integer. If I have some other additional information, I'll be writing say int b. So both can be of same data types. Even then also we can term it as a data structure. So here what it specifies, members, they can be of different data types and of different lengths. So here if you just add a character over here, so character, only one single character, and if I want a string, I can have a string which is of which can hold say 50 characters. So it can have the length varying in this case. Here also the length of integer is lesser than the float. So here indirectly what it implies, members can be of same type or members can be of different types. All can be integer types, all can be a combination of integer, float, character, any combination is possible. So that is what this is specifying. Now, this is more in general, I am talking about the data structures. But when I talk, so this is in specific what I'm telling about the data structures. But when we consider the different examples, right, of the data structures, we have already come across one of it, which is array. So this is also a kind of data structure, but what is the difference between these and the other data structure what we are talking, in which we are making use of struct union keywords? So here, array, in this case, what happens is if you declare an array of integer type, say I have something declared in this form. So this is an array. ARR variable identifies an array which holds data which is of the integer type. So it can hold around 50 elements. All these 50 elements will be of the type integer. So what is the main thing of arrays? Arrays will be holding all the data types which are of similar kind or similar data types. Whereas the data structures, what we were speaking in the previous this thing, that is structure and union. So there, slight difference added to this gives you, that is, if I want to hold different data types together, then what will be the case? I'll be moving ahead with the structures, unions, and other stuff. So now let us see a few of the data structures examples over here. That is, one is arrays, the other is the linked list, the binary trees, and stacks, and it keeps on continuing. So these are just a few to name around. I think a few of you might have come across the stacks also when you're dealing with programs, right? You come across the term stacks. So when you do push and pop operation, at that time stack comes into existence. Now, when you have data structures, right, what are the operations or what are the manipulations on the data what you can perform? So in an array, you have say 50 elements, and I want to search whether element 20 is present in that or not. I can do that. So in data structure, I can do that. I want to arrange the array elements from ascending to descending order. So even that also I can perform. So these are few of the manipulations which you can do using the data structures. So any of these data structures, what you're talking, we can perform these operations. So we can sort the data, say ascending to descending or descending to ascending or any order what you specify. Next, if you want to search any element in the data structure, you can do that. If you want to insert any element into the data structure, you can do that. And deletion also you can perform, but this is again dependent on few conditions. So that will be looking forward in the coming forth sessions. So now, what are the characteristics that we need for the data structures? Now here, data structures, when we speak, it is a logical representation of how the data is organized in the computer. So if you're telling array and if you're telling that it holds 50 elements, you're telling that 50 memory locations are required to store that information. So previously I specified int a and I specified that it is 50. Okay. So what this indicates, you will be having 50 such memory locations, and in each location you can store one integer data type. So that is, it's a logical representation of, so this is the logical representation, say in this case it is the array, so which is nothing but a data structures in our case. So it depicts the logical representation of the data which is present in the memory. Then how these represented data are logically related, how they are related. So what happens is in array, if I just again consider it, you might indicate that first element is stored at the index 0. Next element is stored in the index 1 and so on. The last element, if there are 50 elements, the last element will be having an index of 49. So what you can specify is these elements I can just correlate with the index and I can access the members. So this is just an example what I'm specifying over here. So we can have logical relationship between the various data elements which are present. Suppose if you went for the data structure, that is struct student. So in that you had a roll number and name. So those two are logically related. If you declare a variable of that type data structure struct student, then that student variable will be having an associated name and associated roll number with him. So that is a logical relation between those data elements. Then as we specified, since we can do sorting, searching, and we can do some other estimations, we can perform all these manipulations on the data members. We can perform all these things on the data members. So it is again based on few of the conditions what we have to look out for. Then apart from that, we can even use this information which is present in the data structure, that is the data elements which are present in the data structures, we can use them to process the data. And we can process it for the required information. So these are few of the characteristics which are depicted by the data structures. You will be having the logical relationship between the data which is present in the computer memory. Then you will be having a logical relationship between the various data elements which are present in the memory which are stored under the data structure. Then you can manipulate the data which is present in the data structure. Say if you want to sort, you can sort it. If you want to do some calculation, you can do some calculations using those members and do some manipulations. So those all things you can do, and you can process that information. So these are few of the things which identify the characteristics of the data structure. So these are just a few things to name around. What is a data structure in general? What are the data elements? A few of the examples to name around. Along with this, again, you have so many other cases like queues. So all these things will also be included in the data structure. Then what are the manipulations you'll be able to perform on the data structure and the characteristics. So next we come across what are the different data types or different types of the data structures. So in this data structure, we can broadly classify into two types. That is, one is primitive and one is non-primitive. Under non-primitive, again, we can have linear data structures and non-linear data structures. So we'll just have a brief overlook of these things. So what is meant by the primitive data structures? So these are primitive in the sense they are the fundamental. They are the fundamental data structures. So which are the fundamental data structures? So previously we had observed that we made use of int, we made use of char, we made use of float. These are all primitive data types. These are all primitive data types. So data structures pertaining to these elements, data structures pertaining to these primitive data types will fall under the primitive data structures. So these are the fundamental data structures which we have. And these we can manipulate directly at the machine level instructions. So directly we can access the members and we can perform the operations which are required over here. So what is this indicating? Say one best example would be an array. So if I declare an array A10, so this is A is an array which holds 10 elements which are of the type integer. So this is holding what? Primitive data structure element over there. So it is in the primitive, what happens is it is a single element which is present. Basically, we are not talking about the arrays which are present. I'll just tell it as int A. So A, we are classifying it as a primitive data structure. That is integer. We are classifying it as a primitive data structure. So in this case, if I have two things and if I want to add both, I'll be performing directly using those. So that is what this statement implies, directly manipulated by the machine level instructions. If I want to perform A plus B, I can just take those members and add those. So in this case, these are the primitive data structures what we are specifying. So in this only one element is present. So something I can specify in that form. So these are the primitive data structures which are the fundamental data structures. Few of the examples are integer, character, Real is nothing but the float data types, Boolean. So all these things fall under the primitive data structures. Now, what is meant by non-primitive data structures? These are actually derived from the primitive data structures. So previously we declared something as int a. So this is a primitive data structure. Now from this, in this I am having only one element is possible. So can I have 10 elements stored? Say I'll write it as B. 10 elements stored in this primitive data type, that is integer. I can have it. So this is nothing but a array. So from primitive data structure itself, I am building the non-primitive data structure. So which is like a descendant of your primitive data structure. So these are derived from one or more primitive data structures. So it might be float, it might be int, it might be character, so on. Then apart from that, we have seen the data structures also, right? So those also fall under those category. So we have non-primitive data structures which are derived from one or more primitive data structures. Now here what happens is if you're declaring array, say array of the type integer. So in this case, what happens is A is an array which can hold 10 elements, which will be all of the type integer. So all these are same type. All these 10 can be same type. So all are homogeneous. All are homogeneous. But what about structure? With the struct keyword, we had defined, say, a struct student. In this, I can have int roll number and character, which is name. Okay. So in this case, you can see that it is one integer type, one character type. So this is heterogeneous. That is, different data elements are present over here. So this is storing homogeneous kind of data, and this is able to store heterogeneous data in which data types can be different. So non-primitive data types are derived from the primitive data types or data structures. Non-primitive data structures are derived from the primitive data structures or the fundamental data structures. Then apart from that, in non-primitive data structures, we can have homogeneous data elements or heterogeneous data elements. And a few of the examples to name around are, we have again in this linear data structures and non-linear data structures. So in this case, linear data structures, all the data elements are linear or sequential form. They have list form. So example is arrays, stacks, queues, linked list. So these are linear in their nature. Now in this one, no definite order or sequence in which the data elements are arranged. So when we come across these elements, right, we'll get to know why this thing comes into existence. Now suppose, for example, if you take a queue, so what happens is data enters from one end and leaves from the other end. So it is like a person standing in a queue. The first person who enters will be first to get out. So next person will be here, third will be here, fourth will be here. So you cannot have all these things are linearly arranged. But in trees, what happens is you will be having something called as a root node. For root node, you will be having a left subtree and a right subtree. And how this left subtree and right subtree are built are based on some conditions. In simple, if I just want to specify, say you have some number over here, 4, which is a root node, and you have to add element to this. So if there is a number, say 2 over here and 3 over here, so you have to, based on some condition, you will be specifying that the highest element might be present here, and out of these two, which is lower, will be present on the left side and the other one will be present on the right side. So here, if some third element comes in, so you have to add another element 5. So where this 5 goes and sit, whether it becomes the root node or whether it becomes this left subtree or right subtree. So all these conditions matter. So but here that is not the condition. They are all linearly, whether this is greater or lesser, no matter. So they are kept in one linear fashion. But here what happens is, suppose if I want to insert and delete or do some operation, there'll be some changes which will be happening in the entire structure. But here if I want to add, it will come and add in the end only if it is a queue. If it is a queue, it will come and add in the end. But in trees, what happens is this is not present. So that when we go to the topics of trees, right, there we'll get to identify actually what this is in those cases. So in linear data types, all the elements are arranged in linear or sequential form. That is one after the other. If you want to insert, delete, so it will be performed in some specific sequence and it will not disturb the rest of the things. But in non-linear data structures, what happens is you don't have any order or sequence in which you are arranging those elements. It all depends on some of the logic what you are implementing over there. So in which we have trees, which will be hierarchical arrangements, and apart from that we also have graphs. So we'll be having a look at these all things in the coming forth sessions. Okay, now we'll have a brief discussion of all those things what we have specified, and later we'll be having in-depth discussion regarding all these data structures what we will be discussing now. So first one is the array. So array is by definition what it is. It is the collection of similar data types. So all the data elements which are present in the array will be of the same type. If you declare an array of integer type, all the elements will be integer type. If you're declaring a float, then all the elements in the array will be of float type. So this is with respect to the array. And what happens is in an array, the data or the data elements will be stored in consecutive memory locations. It will be stored in consecutive memory locations. Few of the examples as we had seen previously, that is you can have array of integers, you can have array of numbers, that is real numbers, which is float, you can have array of even the characters which we call as strings. So these are just a few things to name around. Now when we are talking of array, an array will be having a name associated with it, and it will be having an index associated with it. So using the name and index, I can access any of the specific element within the array. So this we'll just discuss. So let us just talk what is the applications of the arrays. Now, since we need to store the data in the consecutive memory locations, and all the data will be of similar data type, it can find its usefulness in storing large collection of similar data types. If they are dissimilar, then I cannot go for array. So if you want to store that information which are of similar data type, then we can go ahead with array. Now, this is the logical representation of the arrays. So in which, say you have an integer which is stored here, integer which is stored at this point, integer. So all these are integers, 2, 6, 7, 3, 8. All these are integer. And this array will be having an associated name to it. So it might be any given name. So I'll just call it as, say, if I specify it as int ARR, and say I'll just specify it as 50. So what is this telling? It is an ARR is a variable which is of the type array and which can store up to 50 elements of integer data type. So here ARR is the name. ARR is the name. And in this case, say first element is 2, next element is 6, and so on. So if I have to get an indication of the first element, I can use a index along with this. So this 0 which is specified is an index, 1 is an index, 2 is an index. So these are the indexes. So using the array name and the index, I can access the member. I can access the member. Now, as we specify that these are stored in consecutive memory locations. Now, if address of the first member, is 6000, and we assume that one integer consumes around 2 bytes of memory location. So in 2 bytes of memory location, this data will be stored. In next 2 bytes of location, 6 will be stored. In next 2 bytes of location, 7 will be stored, and so on. So if I have to access the address, so if the first element address is 6000, next element address will be 6002. Next element will be plus 2 because 2 bytes are consumed over here. So it will be 6004 and it will continue. So this is how the array will be stored. All the data types are of similar kind. It is having an associated name for this array, and you can use the indexes to access the members of this array, and they are stored in consecutive memory locations. So this is with respect to array. So next one we have linked list. The name itself tells that this will be a list which will be having some linkage. This will be a list which will be having some linkage with each other. So here you can see some logical representation over here. So here what we have, here we have a element. Here we have a element. This entire thing is a list. This entire thing is a list. Here we have an element, and this element is giving a link to the next element. This element is giving a link to the next element. So this is just an indication. So this is what a linked list will be. It will be having the linkage between the elements. It may be in one direction or it may be in both the direction. So in that case, again, we'll be having either a singly linked list or doubly linked list. So those all things come in. So here the data is stored in the form of a list, and those data will be interrelated with each other. That is, they'll be having interconnection with each other. They'll be having a linkage with each other. Now, these elements which are present are called as nodes. They are called as nodes. So as this is again collection of the data elements, what happens is we can have multiple nodes which are present. And when we have multiple nodes, since we have to provide the linkage, what we do is we have to give an indication of what is the next element, where it is. What is the next element, where it is. So I have to provide the linkage between these. So in order to do that, we make use of pointers. So what purpose the pointer is used? The pointer is utilized to provide a link which specifies that where the next element is. So in linked list, what happens is you have a node. This is a node. This is a node. All these are related to only one list. So here what happens is, if I have to provide a linkage between, say, this first node and the second node, what we do is we try to see what is the address of this node and store that address. So it gives an information that at this address, the next element is there. Next one at this address, the next element is there. So therefore, we make use of pointers in the nodes. So these are called as nodes. Now, what is present in the node? You will be having two aspects which are present in the node. One is the value. So what is the value which is present in this node? Say here, as we have a value of 2 in the array. So here I can have a value of 2, which will give me a 2. And we'll be having a address information, which will give me what is the, where is the next element. So here I might have some address. I'll be having the address. So which will be the pointer information. So that address will be present for the next element. So here what happens is from here to here, based on this address, I can go and access the next member. So here data 6 might be there. Here data 6 might be stored. And in this case, address of the next element will be there. So here I'll be having 7. Here I'll be having the address of the next element. Here I'll be having 3 and so on. So this is with respect to linked list. Now here what happens is here what happens is if you just observe an array. Now if I declare an array which is of 50. So what happens is no matter whether you are feeling that only say these elements are present, rest all I am not utilizing in the present form. So what happens is only these 5 elements will be stored, rest 45 locations will not be utilized. So you are wasting the memory. So in order to overcome these problem, right, we can go ahead with linked list. So which helps us me to provide efficient utilization of the memory. So in this case, what is happening is now as and when new elements come in, say after 8, you have to store some element which is 10. So what you do is you give the address of that element and store, you access the address of that element and store 10 in that location. You store 10 in that location, and in the address field you store the next information. Suppose if you want to store 11, so this is called as this is static memory allocation which is done. This is static memory allocation. So at the compilation time itself, you provide that 50 memory locations will be provided for ARR. But in linked list, what happens? You are not telling that 50 elements are present. What you're doing is you are adding it as and when it comes over here. So here what you're doing is you are making use of what is called as dynamic memory allocation. Dynamic memory allocation. So if new element has to be added, you access a memory location. In that you store the information, and that address information you store it over here. You store it over here. So which tells that after 8, 10 is the element whose address can be accessed over here. So efficient memory utilization is done over here. What are the application of the linked list? Since we make use of dynamic memory allocation, this becomes one of the aspects. So in where all it is used in stacks, it is used in queues, trees. So all these elements, even in the graphs, not graphs, even in the other aspects also you utilize these things. So all the implementations make use of the lists, stacks, queues, trees, all these things make use of the linked list. So this is all for today. I'll be continuing in tomorrow's class. Another some 15-20 minutes will be there. Okay. Thank you.